Welcome to the Biotech Startups podcast by Exceeder. Join us as we speak with first-time founders, serial entrepreneurs, and experienced investors about the challenges and triumphs of running a biotech startup, from pre-seed to IPO, with your host, John Chou. In our last episode, Dr. Chou shared how she pioneered high-throughput screening at Wyeth that revolutionized biomanufacturing, and how Genentech recruited her to build a product-driven department in Oceanside. If you missed it, check out part 2. In part 3, Dr. Chou talks about the biosimilar startup, where she became employee number 1, walked into an empty facility alone, and convinced the FDA to skip all preclinical animal studies. A meeting where 32 FDA agents watched her answer every question by herself. She shares how a medical school friend's death from metastatic lung cancer opened her eyes to why creating biosimilars was about more than science. It was about making therapies available to patients who couldn't access them. She also discusses joining Bayer Pharmaceuticals to lead over 2,000 employees across 6 sites, building trust one drop at a time in an 153-year-old organization, and navigating the painful reality of being the first Asian woman in leadership.
So it sounds like I'm going to imagine kind of like during the sale to Gilead, this is kind of like a period or kind of a transition-y kind of like period for your department. Is that when you made the transition to Tanvex?
Yes, during that period, to cut the long story short, it's like that if we don't elaborate too much. But Genentech definitely spent whatever the energy to retain me. So the Tanvex thing come along, if I jump to that question right away. It was the founder just have this vision about want to create something in biologics, and not really quite know what exactly can be fast. And then, so I was the employee number 1 in Tanvex.
Oh.
And yeah, seriously.
Oh crap! Okay.
I'm glad you say that. And this is a billionaire. He has this idea about he wants to play biologics, and it's a hobby or something like that. And then he came talk to me about this. Again, if my life in Genentech is so good, is that something about selling? No, the sell to Gilead thing after I left. So probably as a consequence rather than as a reason. Even though, believe me, many people don't trust that's a story. They say, you must know.
Yeah.
I think by now I can say, after I was so firm about I'm leaving, and Genentech did tell me before I leave and say this whole deal, but they was hoping I would hop to the South San Francisco ship, not really. Okay, I'm probably reveal the biggest secret because Gilead even also years is still chasing after me. About the Tanvex thing, it wasn't like so much I planned it out. There was the whole idea about being employee number 1. I always told myself I should come up with or make up an entrepreneur story. Like I want to be an entrepreneur. So that's I really don't have it, honestly. I was like just thinking about, well, this seems like come to the ceiling where I am, and what am I going? And this was like this. Actually, go back to that question I asked myself, right? Can I put my science innovation and helping patients to have a further breakthrough? And that was the time then I kind of present this potential. And then I say, well, okay, let's give it a shot to see what I can create something out of scratch. Because it's founded by a billionaire, so the funding initially wasn't an issue at all. So it's just a 50,000 square feet space he already bought. And then day 1, I went to the job and I realized it's me plus that 50,000 square space, empty space. And I was like walking around a little bit. And
Home alone again?
Yeah, home alone. But this time it's not like I already, yay, I can do this and that. I don't even know what I'm going to do. I called those founders to say, hey, I realize, so seriously, you already have the space. And then you want me to create something for you, and what do you want me to do? And he was like, why are you calling me? That's your job. I was like, can you narrow down a little bit? Like, why are you asking me? I don't even know biology. I told you biologics, whatever, biologics. So
that's hilarious.
okay. Yes,
I know about this biologics thing.
Yeah,
I assumed you have it figured out. Like,
Exactly. Yeah. So it sounds very dumb of me because like I say, I always tell myself, next time people interview, just come up with some entrepreneur story, like
yeah,
they
yeah.
really know what to do. And it wasn't. So then I kind of figured out because he has some success in the generic medicine. So I feel like then we partner on maybe the biosimilar. I have to point out, biosimilar wasn't a thing. Okay, this is 2010. So it wasn't a thing. So there's no regulatory pass, there's nothing. But I feel like, well, this is probably makes sense. And let's see also if biosimilar can create a difference. Being such an innovator and also brag about my creativity, why do I even bother biosimilar? I have to tell you, that's also have something about this side story because as I mentioned, I went to medical school. So one of my classmates turns out to be a very, very successful dermatologist in Taiwan. And this was just right before this opportunity to do this entrepreneurship, right? So then she's not to get into too much detail, but she realized she had stage 4 lung cancer unexpectedly. Just found out already, and it's already in the metastasis phase and widespread. But she's has a really good knowledge about what drugs she need to have. And so not getting to the details, so she kind of discussed with me about being Genentech, can I kind of getting some of the drug for her and things like that. And I look into that. I never actually realized about the supply and also the distribution. It's a thing, right? Because I told Judy, as long as you figure out the technology, launch a drug, patient will be benefit. But I never thought about this commercial line about these things. So without going into detail, and I have my limit to not be able to help her. And then in the whole dialogue of things, that definitely I think her conversation, because we were pretty close friends at the medical school time, and then later on she passed away less than 2 months. Well, maybe less than 2 months. Even though maybe even I can get a drug for her, it's too late. But get me thinking. Helping patients is not just about the upfront creativity, not just the development phase, but also make the drug available. That's why starting the biosimilar thing would become a thing for me about, hey, what if it's not just one company own this potential for company? I don't put down Roche and Genentech that time why my friend didn't get a drug, but this is how it works, right? When you have one owning company, their commercial strategy, their marketing strategy, and many things, you have to respect that. But I think that's not what I signed myself up.
Yeah.
So I starting to have eye-opening about this. That's why when this founder has this whole idea, and I say, okay, then let's explore this possibility. And also very fast, I realized doing biosimilar, you need to be even more creative, at least in my case, because I know so much about all those drugs, how it's made, and the inside scoop. And I know so much how I cannot do the same thing. So the obvious signs I know, and I have to put a circle around. I have to have super extra creative to create the same thing without using it, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Almost like you know how to jump, but you
yeah.
can no longer jump the same way as you jump. And to create the same height you have created in the past. So I have to say that was the years when I was at the 10X. I hard for people to understand how innovative that is, but this is more about addressing how you produce, how you create something similar. Um, but I have this proud track record because this was before all those regulations had been published. So I got 2 products into phase 3, and even in
Wow.
during those 4 years, so very fast. And then we went into may sound even silly, I share, but when we submit our IND, the first product to IND, and then have the conversation with the agency. We all know by now, FDA really promoting the idea, do less animal study and things like that. But was biosimilar hasn't even been approved. So we're planning to do, the tox and all those animal study before into phase 1. So this is a pre-IND meeting. Now I share with you how the founder's mindset. So of course he just sent me and then a consultant into this FDA meeting. I was like, oh, okay, I just go.
You and a consultant.
No, me plus the consultant, and then the consultant only just keeping notes, and then because
So
we were
primarily
not
you.
involved this consultant.
Yeah.
Okay, but we walk into the room, 32 FDA agents. Yeah, I was sitting in the room. I was like, holy cow. Like,
Yeah.
wow. And
Yeah.
they were like, first their project manager will say, okay, so Dr. Chow, I'd like to make sure your company is represented by you and the doctor so. Yes. So you're speaking regulatory? Yes. And you're speaking like a development, clinical is that yes. I feel like
Yeah.
yeah, almost as funny as the people will ask you like, do you do window and do you do doors and those like things, right? When you're trying to hire some handyman
Yeah.
into your
That's
house.
me.
Yeah, it was like,
That is me.
yeah, and I have to answer every question straight face, yes. So I talked through the 60 minutes. They have 32 people, 4 or 5 departments to talk to me about this. Later on, someone retired from FDA was in the meeting and did have the friendly chat with me and become friends. And she told me about, we were so impressed about this little 10x nobody heard of and sending just you. And then you talk through the whole thing. We were like really eye-opening. And then they also say, well, it was a lot of things I answered the approach and things like that, convince them. So we were, like I say, it's not dumb to share this experience because I was still humbly thinking about we should do all those, follow every single biologics. So at the end, they look at each other and they say, we're going to tell you, you can skip all the preclinical study because your characterization of your protein looks so good. In some sense, there's probably no doubt because I know the standard.
Yeah.
So I mean, not like, and I told you I couldn't copy anything I used to do, but what you cannot unlearn, what you already learned about what's good. You don't learn those secret, but you don't keep those, but you have to kind of set the bar. So they were so impressed about the characterization data looks so good. So they allowed us to fast forward. I was as silly as when they say there's no animal study, and I'll share with you because that's just really funny. I say, oh, so when you say animal, do you mean rodent and non-human primate? They say yes. I say even rodent, and they say yes. I was like, couldn't believe. I can understand if you don't want me to do the non-human primate, and I was like thinking about, wow, I got to nail this, right? Because this is I never heard about anybody can do that. So it's like, so you mean mouse, rat, rabbit?
Yeah, you're listing out all of them.
I
Yeah.
think all those agents probably like, okay, do you think we are dumb? No,
Yeah.
I mean, rodents
We
definitely
said
say, but
animals. We
yeah.
like those are animals.
And they even talk rodents. Right? It's like, okay, I was doubt about they just somehow I mistake this. But anyway, it was a great experience. I think this really set also the great foundation about I'm not shy about discuss with the agency about in a collaborative way. So I don't mean like, oh, I overcome them, but more about, I think like this friend later on retired and she was in the meeting and then she talked about this whole spirit about, hey, don't be humble, Judy. We learned so much from you about, hey, things can be done this way, that way, and you show the result was convincing. And I do think this is important because we have this, I always praise, it's so nice we are in a regulatory, highly regulated industry. I don't consider that's a challenge. I think in a highly regulated, so you don't like counting on your market research and all that, not purely counting on that, right? Because that's a wild card. The difference about biotech is then the question, the goal is so obvious. You can pull anybody out of the street, you know that. But the solution is not obvious, right? Very different from, like if you and I are creating the next
Computer
generation.
widget. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. That's
Yeah.
different, like then it
It's like,
becomes
I don't know
we
if people
develop
will
that
like
feature.
this.
Yeah,
Maybe.
yeah. But I think the biotech, then it's a collaboration, not like other industries, not heavily regulated, but still not to this degree, right? Almost, I think this is, if we fast forward about the investor world, one of the difficulty, right? Because that it cannot just counting on you, John, you'll be able to create this product. There'd be health agencies feel about this and that. So I think since that experience, I do feel this whole collaborative environment is very, very important. And to me, I'm not intimidated. I see, okay, if I've been there, imagine 60 minutes with 32 agency grill me with all the question, right? I'm the one and only person have the answer from CMC to everything. And I wish I can brag about this, but less about that. Really is about that experience about, hey, at the end, they give me credit, they honor this. So later on, I really do make a name out of it. People still tell me, hey, were you that? So somebody actually mentioned about that meeting. Like, wow, like someone, it's kind of also probably give my founder that credit, right? Because he's so naive.
Yeah.
But
I
just
love
you, I
that.
mean, what else? Yeah,
I
yeah,
love that. And it's interesting. My wife interfaces with regulatory bodies a lot too. And when we work from home, I'm like walking by the office and I just see like on the screen, it's like 40 government agents
yeah,
and just her I wouldn't say sparring, but it's like a similar approach. It's like you should make it more collaborative than kind of this a sparring match. And I
yeah.
also so it sounds like you really had like a kind of crash course, like it's just a crash course on like regulatory and how to like handle it. And a part of your kind of like what I'm seeing here is like maximal impact. It's like you're like, and you talked about the kind of like supply chain and it's almost this is almost like maximizing like the biosimilars, like maximizing impact and the reach. And that is an important factor too, because like if again, kind of like if you're just like doing it artisan one kind of like
That's right.
that's not, I mean, yes, helpful, but like how do we get this to more patients is maximizing the impact, which I think is like important here because and we talked about like kind of like you're kind of having these like you're learning every kind of part of the drug
Yes,
discovery journey. It's like
yeah.
every single part, and then even further downstream, like all the way through the regulation, getting into people, like getting into patients, and like how do we optimize every single part of it to like compress it down? Because that I think is a commendable effort, and I think and also, it sounds like it was hard as hell. Like, like,
Well, so one thing to build your point further, because this is also I was this first employee and the VP of R&D of the company, and then definitely along the way, this VP of manufacturing got hired, and then somehow all of them got fired, and then as you kind of laugh about this founder, so it's like then when the third one got fired, then he turned to me like you're going to do manufacturing. So I used to do this, like I say, GMP clinical scale, but not to the manufacturing to launch product, right? So I was like, oh, you misunderstand me. So I am the VP of the research. So it's not or R&D. I was not manufacturing because this thinking, right? This vertical thinking still there. I feel like then he's as naive as like anything non-commercial is R&D. It's like, okay, good point. And then we actually have to build those manufacturing suite and have to learn that. And I
that's funny.
used to just collaborate. And so I profoundly have the impact to my career, right? As you probably know, since then I started running manufacturing organization and like to your credit still, I would say you highlighted and I really trying to get to understand the manufacturing. So build three manufacturing suite and then to the different like micro, the Chou and also the drug product. If he's not like force me, I would say like you got to kidding me. Like
Yeah.
I don't do that. And
Yeah.
but then also regulatory, right? Like send me to FDA meeting. I say, well, seriously, okay. And I stepping like, oh darn it. Like why did I even think this is okay? Uh, and their name is on the letter, but I don't think it's going to be so big. Seriously, so I don't want to say sound like I was like, oh, I can do it. I was just like, okay, then just do it. Then
I'll
you
be I'll be terrified. I'll be
yeah,
mortified.
terrified.
Yeah,
Seriously,
just
it was
like
it's I'm glad at the end it was a good ending. Otherwise, it's a trauma, right? Who has been putting on to this torture about 32 agents to grill you with the question. So is building the manufacturer. And I do think this that's probably the beauty as you and I are chatting here about join the startup, right? I couldn't imagine if I continue my path in Genentech. Well, maybe at some point as I progress my career, like I later on being there, but wouldn't be so like groundbreaking, understand every single ISO code and to build a suite to understand every single thing. I do think that carry with me about later on, I can have that right language. As you also point out, appreciation to my manufacturing folks, and they wouldn't feel like, oh, she's just coming somehow out of the space and just helicopter into managing us. So that probably, if you don't get into yourself into, and that's why I say I need to make up an entrepreneur story. But now you know, it's just like putting that situation and have to just being like master about it, master the whole situation out of it. Yeah.
Very cool. And it sounds like, I mean, you basically you did the startup journey now and really got it humming as employee one. When did you know that you're up for your next adventure? Like,
I think what's obvious about when I got things into the phase 3, to answer your question first, and I'll add one more comment. So I still have that itch, I have to admit, about to get to this, like a new product, a new target, and that biology side of the innovation, right? So I feel like I need to be back to that environment. That's to answer your question. But definitely there's another thing, and I hope this will be helpful for anybody determining their career path. Because then 10x went on IPO. And it was very obvious about if I just stay a little bit more, and I probably can have even more of my stock option turns into the profit I can get out of being the employee number one. When I have that itch about this, along the way, motivation, they had people come to talk to me. Motivation is on the other extreme. Like then it was super extra innovative, and then taking a lot of creative way, tons of smart people, and they have already the nowadays become extending. So licensing in from UCLA, from that phase 1 of preclinical, fast forward to already phase 3 trying to launch, extending, and the whole group of people is super smart. So then they somehow, I don't know how, it's kind of spot on me. Probably they say because they want somebody to run the tech up with a very accelerated mindset, rather than like, sorry, CMC need to do it done this way and that way. So they approached me, a recruiter came to me. So the piece I really want to hopefully benefit your audience is then along about, hey, I may make a lot of money out of this, and versus doing something where my heart is taking me, right? It's a passion for years. It wasn't a tough decision. I just decided to move on. Obviously, not like I don't care about money, but I move on to do that. But I want to share a positive story because I little did I know about this move on actually benefit me from the capital side as well, because I was out. So then I cashed all my stock option, right? And even though it's portion of it, not the complete, right? Because if I stay, we'll have more. But after IPO, the regulatory put the stringent on those leaders cannot sell your stock for substantial amount of time, like a year. But stock went really high, and I don't want to tell you the number, like super high right after IPO. I have no limit. So like, I don't want to say I'm just so smart, figure this out. I didn't know that.
The timing.
The timing is everything, right? So I really do think I can tell you example after example, but this is probably the golden example about, definitely I always give people the advice about really follow your passion rather than follow the money, because the money later on will come. But if you got yourself follow the money, it just doesn't come back to. I'm saying this not just at the end you have a good life, but I'm telling you, if you want to make money, that's the way you make money.
Yep.
Don't
Totally.
just looking at the dollar amount now. And so I was incidentally made myself into the range about I never thought about I will make, right? And then free. doing what I really want to continue building my career. And I do think it makes a difference for many people because I don't want to downplay money. So I'm openly talking about this all the time. Because since then, this 10x IPO, I don't worry about what I like the next salary and things like that because I can just super extra focus on this passion even more because I know that's enough. Now I can just even more focus, and every single decision I made is really following that path. So motivation came to recruit me with really the mindset just do the innovation, and that's where I mean just to not to further drag on your question, but more about hey, I see they are very innovative company and people are just really smart when I talk to them. I feel this is going to make a difference. And also, I'm going to be on this executive team. And this was my first US public company executive team role. And I feel like, oh, I can learn a lot out of it. And indeed, I do think that was very productive years.
Very cool. And I'm assuming Medivation is how it brought you to the Bay Area as well.
I was all alone in the Bay. Let me see.
Or were you still
So
in, or were you still in Southern California?
no, so because of I should probably say this. So in my Genentech time, as I mentioned, 50% of my time need to spend in the Bay Area.
Got it.
So
Okay.
yeah, so
You're
I
splitting.
always been, but it's true, more or less, since motivation, I do not need to, like really go back to the Southern California that much. Yeah, that's true.
Very cool. And so talk about the Medivation experience. You now, yeah, I mean, at this point, you've seen a lot, like, and so how are you like, I'm going to imagine you like your tool belt is now filled. Like, how did you bring that over to Medivation?
Yeah, so motivation have a little bit very unique role though still. There's no tech up organization. This is probably happened to a lot of startup, right? Focus on the clinical readout, worry about CMC later. And so has outsourced every single thing, except there are two members, they are doing a little bit like the clinical supplies coordination. So this is two member, and then I have to build the organization up because we need to go through commercialization. So to be able to do commercialization is a huge thing. So I think for anybody goes through that. So you need to have the organization. So I have to build this whole tech up. And then being a big boss in speaking in the public domain, right? So that's something very different. And then at the same time, this is uniquely because most of my peers, the leaders, and are all having very strong clinical development experience. So I'm working with them like side by side, right? So this is further strengthen my experience in the clinical development side. Even though early in my career, other than 10x, I need to manage in that, I wasn't being this whole discipline about. So there are probably about more than 120 MD in the company when the company only have about 160 people. So that's how motivation was built. I think it's one of the most great clinical development teams, super smart and trying to cut to the point and benefit the patient, and really was a very good, almost like a, by default, it's cross-functional. So then to your point about like build a skill set, however, I do not have the team. So I have to build a team also quickly. So this is quite a bit of experience. And then, and motivation decide to build a lab on the Mission Bay. So that's, I think it's still true. It's probably the last piece about San Francisco will ever have lab is probably in the Mission Bay area. And so we have that space and build the space up, being the site head for the also first time running, because that's become Motivation's Motivation headquarters in downtown San Francisco. Later on, you can see that shadow about my current company, why I think that works. And it's at the time, was named as the most successful virtual company, quote unquote, because basically you don't have lab, you don't have the manufacturing, but we need to kind of starting to build a little bit. So we build a lab later on in Mission Bay, and later on become many company I'll name, but that just was very successful company. They acquired the place, and because when Pfizer acquired us, they really want to sell it, not to make other Pfizer people jealous, because it was a really nice lab. anyhow, so I think I appreciate you say I have a lot of tool set, but I think I'm actually building a lot of tool set. I feel like looking back, I learned a lot of things that I did not know how to do, like, building, even though I built a suite in 10 weeks time, but this is building a site. I mean, with everything, cafeteria
Yeah,
and
yeah,
auditorium and things
yeah.
like that, and taking care of the employees' life and things like that. So that is new. And also, I'm managing about 50 different CDMO and CRO. Yeah.
Oh,
And
oh,
and I don't know, probably because the startup nature, we have all the CDMO, CRO in almost every single continent except North Pole and South Pole.
oh my God.
So
So
the whole travel is like crazy.
yeah.
Um,
So this sounded much more kind of a much leaner operation. It's kind of like way, way leaner. And like utilizing a lot of partners. You mentioned
yes,
CROs,
yeah.
CDMOs instead.
So the tool I no longer can totally use, right? It's not your hands-on, it's not your
But
people,
when
it's
you're
other,
managing your
yeah, yeah,
CRO and CDMO, that's still the
yes,
tool. Like
exactly. That's true. That's true. But
similar.
like a relationship become a thing, right? Very, very important. So building that relationship effectively, right? That's a key word, right? You don't want to just get cozy, but also they will do what you really want them to do. Have the same mindset. Getting this, it is hard, but definitely I think that's a very different setting. And Motivation did give me, I'll give my CEO, David Hung, that credit. He did say, here, this is the open checkbook. Buy a site, you want to build whatever, because we know we are going to be successful on launching, extending, and many other drugs maybe in the future. And I conservatively did a lot of analysis with different consultants, and then consider we'll kind of postpone that a little bit, but we do look into building the site in Europe already, and many things that I haven't done before. And but at the end, we decide to continue that lean operation. Maybe that's a good or bad, because later on really get down to many big pharma's eyes, seeing that's easier to take up, to take over. So that's
Interesting.
good or bad. Yeah, but
Yeah.
the footprint project is real. And I would maybe to you and maybe to certain people, motivation is not something familiar, but during motivations, I would say the golden time was really a big thing, because motivation not only showing is the most successful virtual, we can call lean company, but also it was a highly seek. Well, people like, well, is this going to be the next Gilead? Because there's a potential about having the successful first product and second product to come, and the infrastructure is going to build up. We were really aiming towards that. If we are not the second Genentech, we want to have been the second Gilead or something like that. So the mindset was big and ambition was big, and the mindset was very firm about certain discipline. That's something I do think I did have that freedom to draw that, to say what I want to do, and with a lot of delegation, because the tech up side is totally open, it's new. The cleanup organization and research and everything is well established. So definitely that's different.
And you mentioned like kind of the large pharma we're starting to eye like meta.
Yeah,
Were you there during the like I'm going to imagine like there through all those like
yeah.
through that acquisition process and everything like that.
Yeah, if you
I
have
guess you could correct me if
any,
you weren't.
if you have any free time, it's really like it's like this tabloid kind of like, because then 2016, it really, if you even Google it, it will see it. 2016 is a huge drama. It was first Sanofi, and I hope they don't hate me when I say this, but Sanofi put the word out there, right? First, they want to acquire Medivation, but Medivation still today, this is a Manning banker told me, is a record keeping about, there's no one single company have five bidder at the same time still bidding. So we heard about a lot of story, right? People
Yeah.
nowadays, you say, oh, when I acquire this company is interested. Somehow, at the end, the bidder, like compete about who's going to win, is going to be one or two, or at most three. And the active bidder to the degree, probably, and again, like I say, I got a lot of reputable bidder, banker told me nobody has that. Like you guys draw that attention to the degree. We were 9 billion worth market cap the day when we say we're going to put our company for sale. In 3 months, so 5 bidder going to that, we sold the company to Pfizer 14.3 billion. So that's pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty decent. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Sounds
So
stressful too, though.
it's
Like,
very stressful. The due
yeah.
diligence work was not light. Everybody did very nice job of due diligence. So people like me and many other functional leader, we were pretty much just a camp in New York and get that deal done. But I give the credit about the deal negotiation side to my CEO and CFO. I cannot take any credit because that they had done a very nice job. And then definitely you can see how much, because we did not just have extending already launched, but we also on the tail end to launch today's Telzena. Basically, is the tech polymerase. So we have that in phase 3 and have a good plan already laid out. That's a very successful pass already. Look at for Pfizer, we immediately get a 2 pipeline, 1 commercial, 1 ready for commercial.
Wow.
So I was there for the acquisition and later on also become Pfizer leadership team also.
Holy crap. Like, what a, just like kind of a feuded this sounds like a stressful kind of tenuous conversation, but it sounds like Pfizer, like, definitely, based on like that acquisition, sounds like a successful one. And now I guess was this, you you're like, with the acquisition for continuity, you ended up kind of like in a leadership role at Pfizer. And then is that when like the Bayer kind of came into the picture around this time, or was it kind of
You're right. So to Pfizer, Pfizer, the first thing they do, like many company do, is to fire all the C-suite, right? So all the executive team. And I am the only one good of that. They retain. And people told me, I mean, this is really good of that. I won't go into detail, but I really think the problem, and I don't think Pfizer will kill me to say this, because that was the same year, 2017. They 2016. So they acquire more than just Medivation. The other 3 pretty well-established company as well. And then most of the company all come along with a lot of CDMO, CRO. And then Pfizer was totally shocked about how we can do things with 50 different CDMO, CRO across the whole world, right? Pfizer's model has never been like that, even up to today. If anything is, then really internalized. And then acquire another 3 companies that come along also have other CDMO, CRO. Then almost like you do so well. So we're going to retain you. You just help us managing this whole thing. But
so
this
now
is
it's like 150 CDMOs and
something like
CRO.
that. Yeah. And then I usually tell people, yeah, I can brag about my talent, but really is Pfizer have an indigestion problem.
Yep,
Because
sounds
ultimately
like
they
it.
really want to still internalize, but
Yeah.
it's just in between, don't know what to do, right? This is not something permanently Pfizer will want to do this way. So in a sense, I think that's probably explained quite a bit of things. So I know, truly, I think a couple of things I do want to highlight, because the Telzena at that time was in phase 3, almost ready to write NDA. I have a team who working on that. And also this molecule, I work directly with the CEO of Medivation, David Hunt, to get us acquired. So I am one of the key leader of that project. I want to see that get to the finish line. This is probably doesn't surprise you up to this point, right? To me, it's so important to introduce the innovative drug for patient, because I know that will make a difference. It's not the same old, same old. It got to be you address something. It did not exist. So I don't want to see that got lost. And so when they talked me into like, then with your presence, then your team wouldn't everybody want to grab the door, just leave, make a huge difference. So I think that makes sense. Another thing is that also I really care about my people. Many of them, this is going to be the first NDA. And I have this luxury in my first job, get the BLA done. And
Yeah.
that carry a lot of glory
Yeah.
for my whole career. I want them to have that feather on their heads, right? So I I think so honestly at that time many company come to approach me and other role, and I would say some of them still very good. Now I'm thinking about, yeah, that's really a great position. But I feel like for that two reasons, one is care about the patient, one is care about my people, right? So my employee, I want to stay for them. And I wasn't so crazy about, honestly, to address the indigestion problem, but
Yeah.
more
Yeah.
about let's get this product finished. So um, between me and Pfizer, we later on have a good agreement, I would say, to a certain point when I know everything's all on track, and then I will move on. And so that has nothing negative about Pfizer, but just about, and I have to say my experience with Pfizer is very good. That's officially with Pfizer, right? Rather than Weiss. When I left, it's still Weiss, and later on become Pfizer. Um, Many colleagues very, very collaborative, and you can imagine being from Medivation and a huge Pfizer, right? So my transition of later on, by the time I leave, I have 6 different VP. I need 6 different functional. I have to.
Yeah.
That's
Different.
how it works, right?
Different.
Because
Yeah.
my responsibility need to distribute to 6 different people, and I don't think any one of them I'll say, oh, what a nightmare working with them. And I do think also the other thing, maybe to everybody, some encouragement. I do think my path from East Coast make a difference. I hate to divide our country this way, but I do think the East Coast mindset and West Coast mindset is quite different.
Very.
And I see Pfizer struggle to, because Medivation become Pfizer's oncology today, right? And I do think I play some role. So we can talk about technology, innovation, and there's still the piece about this culture, integration. And I think I starting to kind of feel their pain about when I just moved to West Coast, not so much pain, but like shocking about things. And
Yeah.
I can see West Coast people see East Coast. I was on West Coast for long enough, right? Like, oh, how are you guys doing this? So
Yeah.
I do think that was my role at that time to help that transition.
Bridge the gap.
Yeah, this probably explained quite well about, because people ask me, why do you want to leave Pfizer to join Bayer? I feel my job is done. And then, unless I want to progress my career in Pfizer, getting into a little bit this vertical head, which by then I already have this luxury doing the
Yeah.
horizontal so many times, and
Yeah.
I call that luxury. So I know I have many, many friends, and then still fall back to that, right? But I don't think it's one way or the other wrong. But I feel like I always want this big picture thing, right? You can see the whole big picture, really. And now I can afford to Pfizer, maybe running one of the function for them, but it's not what I have been. And I should stay for substantial amount of time to help this, like you say, breach through, but not like forever.
Yep.
So that's probably hopefully explain about then why,
Well,
to
that's
your
very
question.
commendable. It's very commendable to like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to see this through. I'm going to make good on the promise, and I'm going to do right by my team. So like, that's a commendable thing to do. And but eventually, like all good things come to an end too, and
Yeah, yeah.
right, and so it's like that's also understandable. And I'm going to imagine, like, I mean, the Bayer opportunity must have been like, here's like another adventure that's going to like, like a big one, a big one. I think you
A
mentioned
huge
like,
one, I
yeah, yeah,
think,
yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah. Maybe that was an understatement. A huge one. Talk about,
Seriously,
yeah,
yeah.
talk about the really big one, the big, huge adventure.
I actually carry further on your point. I actually just came back from one of this investor conference, and then one of the CEO talked to me about something about at Bayer, because he knows someone used to be a leader. And I shared a little bit story about, like, you highlight a couple of keywords about the diversity and things like that. And then the person first response was like, oh yeah, it's so meaningful because you're a woman. And I say, no, it's really very profound to everybody. And allow me to say this up front. I do think all of us facing the life always will be environment, not everybody accept you, right? So, and I do think that was the point at the Bayer, even that step of hiring me for such a big role. I give some credit about, at the end of the day, it was not a job I apply, as I say. So they approached me. That is visionary already. And that was visionary to the degree they even hired me. So
Yeah.
I always tell my employees this. So when I was running an organization, people say, "Oh, you're so inspirational." I say, "Well, give your super manager or the top leader some credit. They are inspiring too because they dare to hire me." This is the organization when I joined, 153 years, have been running all by German and dominant 90% men, and then have to break that for something they care about for biotech, the new business, right? The specialty business, put it on the hand about a woman and an Asian woman, and totally out of the norm. And that is something. And of course, I think to maybe they would push that to see how you die or something. And maybe. But at least they gave me this opportunity, right?
Yeah.
And I think I would say definitely I say huge because I was probably a little bit naive, I would say. I'm sorry to kind of say almost everything. I'm a little bit naive, but that's probably good. So
I think you need
basically,
a little bit of it to do
yeah,
to do anything like this, I think Jensen Huang talked about it.
yeah,
He talked about it. He is just like basically he's like, if I knew what I knew today, I just wouldn't have started the journey.
exactly,
You know too
exactly.
much. You
Yeah,
know
you
way
know
too
too
much.
much. Yeah.
Yeah.
They would tell me I will need to build this new organization. They're going to consolidate, putting all the biologicals, they totally silo organization. Um, Still today, I don't mean that in a negative way, as I say. I mean, big organization need to have a different way to structure. But Bayer has a footprint about Germany, Switzerland, Italy, and many everywhere in Europe, so as in Asia, in US. For biotech, has been very focused in Germany, Switzerland, and US for good reason, right? Because those are three places really biotech is more. And then I need to manage in 3 countries already, and then 6 different sites, and thousands of employees. This is the employee population in US is the biggest Bayer employee population in US. So many things I didn't know, and I remember in my
I
interview
just
process.
one personal note. I grew up in Berkeley, so
Oh, okay.
I would always like ride my bike or skateboard like by the Bayer
Past that
campus.
campus.
Yes, by the
Okay.
campus.
I
So
have to tell
familiar.
you, then you are one of the rare person, even no bears there, right?
I know
Because
it's most people don't know. It's just
yeah,
like I used to get breakfast at 500 Grayson, like that's across the
yeah,
street from the
it's
Bayer
still there.
campus.
It's still there.
Still there. And I'm
Yeah.
just like, oh crap. Like this is a massive Bayer campus. It's uh very low key. Very low key.
Yeah, but if I may, I would say I make a donation to the Berkeley, one of the foundation during my Bear Days. So when I went there to give that donation to the receiving people, one of the person similar background like you, then he actually like shake my hands like nonstop, and
Yeah,
then he
yeah, yeah.
say, "Dr. Chow, you don't understand. I passed that campus so many times. I always feel like one day I want to meet the person run such a huge campus. I didn't anticipate I would get
Yeah,
to
yeah,
see
yeah,
you."
yeah.
It was like that huge, right? Because
Yeah.
but that's just one of my campus. So that, and I have another 3 in Germany and 1 in Switzerland, and 1 later I built in Boston. So that's, you can imagine, for Bayer to do that, it's huge. And then maybe a little bit about they also consider have to have somebody of a different mindset. But I also say I'm not quite sure it was completely like endorse you up and down, left and right about you are going to be successful, because there's a lot of groundbreaking and break that stereotype and being the little voice out of that. In US is already still, we know this is not good, right? Because the female CEO is still just in the 10%. And we say, oh, it's growing the past 3 years. So that becomes 13%. So that means probably not in your and my lifetime will ever see even 50%, right? which is supposed to be the norm. So that's very sad. And not to mention in Bayer, so later on, right before I left, in the top 20 executive, I'm the only female. Right? So this is very, very hard. But I'll share with you also from the fun point of view, my first, this welcome town hall and thousands of people. And one, this is definitely in the Berkeley campus. I'll share with you a question. You'll say, yeah, I'm like people from Berkeley will ask this question. So other campuses dare not to ask this. So somebody at the end, I say, is there any more question? And then this is a town hall meeting. No longer I'm introducing myself. And the person just raised their hand like, well, Dr. Chou, I really hate to say this, right? Because then you are one, not man, two, not German, three, not white. And I hate to say this, fourth, you are not also even tall. And you fail every single category. How did you even make to this position? Help us understand. Then we have some hope about we can get somewhere. I laugh, couldn't kind of straighten my, I don't feel intimidated. I feel like that's funny. And the first sentence I say, well, I like that. If you fail any category, may as well fail all of them, right? Rather than like, oh, you got a job just because you are a little bit taller and because you are white. But anyhow, that's why I say it's huge, because you really need to like feel confident about yourself, right? And then say different way of things. And tough thing is not so much just you get yourself out there, but it's more about persuade people to trust you. So I think the big thing I highlight about not just the diversity, inclusion, but really the building trust. I gradually, very quickly, I would say, realize why the trust is not there. This is probably very helpful for all of us, right? When we are in the environment to feel like you are the minority. This is always for anybody who will have that experience. And it's how to build that trust, right? And in a sense, not being looked down. You don't want to build a trust by just, oh, because you're the yes person and you always say yes. But at the same time, you need to earn that credit. They know you're transparent. They kind of starting to feel you're just one of them. And that is the hard. And I don't have any secret. And this is saying about trust, like collecting the raindrop from a bucket, right? It's one drip at a time and can break it just one single fall. Everything is just, you just can never let that happen, that one single tip and the whole bucket's gone. But you still need to build one drop at a time to get to that. So I think to me was that, and to the point about then my employee and also outside partner, particularly in US, will say like, it seems like you have their ears, you have be able to build your way. If you still go back to Berkeley, you look at all those new buildings recently got raised. Those are all my time got approved, and bringing a lot of job for Berkeley. I see Berkeley, for example, it is still one of this key hub Bayer should build. But for years before I joined, it was not. You probably roll your bike through, it's just one building down at a time. And it's just become, that Colgate building is just ugly about all those things. Bill just trying to like move out, and it just inherited by the prior owner. But then now starting new building after each other. I think this is what takes a lot about you have to share that vision and show results too. Let's not look down on that, because this is not just about the vision and the persuasiveness. It's more about you show the result. I feel I earn the credit less about just being mingling or like they got to know me, but more about putting onto a lot of tough tests and overcome those difficulties. And they say, well, since she be able to do that, let's give her some credit. I think one thing, I don't know how close on that side. So definitely it's in the past has a little bit negative history about getting some warning letter and things like that. And so it's a hot potato thrown on my hand. And then I told you my manufacturing experience, but not like running this exactly the commercial and have this side and having Germany side. And I proud to say the first inspection I ran through, we got almost zero observation. That's where they say, okay, she know how to do her job. And that's where this trust, I do think, I don't want to sound very attractive to say, oh, you just have to do this and that. I think you have to show the result and bit by bit about, and also being very transparent about saying something negative you're willing to share, right? Rather than say, oh, now they look at me, they will be thinking about this minority woman couldn't do anything, so let me make everything good. I did not do that. I'm being very transparent about, hey, this have the issue, and then this is what we try to do. And I'm 100% sure they have doubt about what I say we can do. It's not, they don't believe that will work. But then at the end, what's the result to earn that? That was quite a bit of story, a lot. And to break that, finally say, well, let's just listen to him. I really want to proudly share with you because the second building just got raised. If you went back to Berkeley, even you drive through the highway, you see that it's a shining building for research. And I have most happy about recently, even some of my former employee to send me that in that launch ceremony. He said, you know where in our heart we're thinking about Judy's vision come to real. That
Cool.
bring a smile to my face about, yes, at the end was they finished that whole footprint. I left before we build up the whole campus. It's still not yet done, but I feel very proud about that profound difference and to shake this whole traditional company and make a difference for the business too, because that create a lot of pipeline for Bayer today.
Very cool. And I think at least what I'm hearing is just like there's a lot of talk about like a large organization and many people and departments that you are responsible for. It's kind of exactly what you said. It's like a big trust building exercise while still trying to bring fresh, kind of a fresh perspective at the same time. So it almost seems like this balancing act where you're like,
Yeah, it's very hard. I don't want to make it sound easy.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. You're like
it is
balancing.
very
It's
hard.
a delicate balance because like if you do too much, you might lose trust. But if you do too little, you get everyone's trust, but you're not making any change. It's more of like, so you're always kind of just like, just like,
Yeah, and the trust, to build further on your point, right? The trust is not just to above you and then your peer, but also below you too. For me, I remember the first set of one-on-one, and most of them SVP and some VP, and I have this dialogue. This probably sounds silly. This is almost because I've been working in US company so long, right? So it's like, let's talk about your career development. And then I can tell you 3 out of 5, they'll be like, they just listen to me like, yeah, yeah. And then at the end, I say, what do you think about this? And how can I help your career? Like, I don't know what you're talking about, Dr. Chou. My career is over because you are here. Like, I look at that, you are younger than I am. You are, this, I have my whole life dream about your job. You're going to be on this job before my retirement, like after my retirement.
yeah,
And I'm, that's it. I don't know why you even care about. I was like, okay, very nice. Thank you for that openness.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
To
yeah.
see
Very
about I'm
transparent.
getting in your way.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
very transparent.
Yeah. So then you have to build that trust out of people about your best interest still in them to give them the responsibility, the visibility, which they may not used to have because that hierarchy organization will be the boss get the credit. But to your point, also, that's a balance act, right? It cannot be like, oh, Dr. Chow being so successful because all those people are so good and she's just, the nice decoration. And but you have to kind of earn your place at the same time to prove you can do something, make a difference. So it's a mixed style. This is very similar to many European society and also in some sense the Asian society. So you cannot be brutal. It doesn't work. And then at the same time, you cannot be too humble because they will take advantage of it. So I do think I learned held a lot out of this whole big role. And so at the end, right before I left, the plan is then I got promoted. It just in the matter about 6 to 8 months, I would take on this 15,000 people organization to run the small molecule as well. Yeah, so that was not easy. And full credit to Bayer also. I mean, they got it. They feel this is the way to go. And it's still the CEO today, Stefan, we run into each other often. I give him a lot of credit. He's the one still like, hey, I'm just one phone call away. Come
Yeah, yeah,
back.
yeah, yeah. I'm still here,
Still
still
very
here.
cute. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I'm still here, still here. And I mean, it sounds like a pretty sweet gig. But as I like compare this against your other kind of experiences, very different. It sounded very different. But, you know, what you embarked on next is probably
Yeah.
even more different. Like
Well,
you went from like potentially 15,000
yeah.
people to a very different organization.
Yeah,
Like,
and
what was
I
the
will give
calculus
my,
there?
yeah, I know. This nowadays we heard a lot about pharma executive doing this. So please do give me the credit. That's nowadays. In 2020, that sounds like she's crazy. She lost her mind. Because really was nobody does that. So that's why if you're in the Bay Area, a lot of journalists just still, I guess for 2, 3 years, still trying to write article though. Now become a little bit known. A lot of people left big role in pharma to be the CEO of the company. And I think in a sense, in my mind, it's a little about because this is a unique podcast, I have to say, because
Yeah.
you went through the whole course of my life, right? So I have to say, if you just take us back to before I joined Bayer and just stay fair, even like a Pfizer, or maybe just say motivation, it makes sense, Judy, go to TEDx motivation, continue on this entrepreneurship. I don't think that got lost. I think Pfizer, as I say, because that responsibility, probably the question should be, why did you even take on Bayer's role?
Yeah, I guess yeah,
Right?
yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It was a yeah.
So that's that. Even though people say, oh, everybody wants that job, but really, you now know me.
Yeah.
You'll say, why did you even take on? Because
Yeah.
you're stepping into
Yeah.
the politics, the big company thing, and this, and then you have the trajectory maybe continue. I think I do have a little bit mindset about maybe one day I will be a CEO at that time. But I challenge myself when Bear approached me, why it's attractive. I feel I need to be even way more equipped. And so this is a good or bad. There's two things I do want to share. So one, then I feel like I need to be way more equipped. So put myself into this big role, and I will be even way more equipped than any startup CEO. Anyway, you can judge based on my performance now, later on. But I set a bar, like right. I don't want to just being, hey, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm going to set up a company. Please don't get me wrong. I appreciate all those CEO today. So I don't think they will do poorly or something. But I want to be mastering, like then I can build my company, go to public and everything. Again, you know me by now, like everything I don't want to just do about, hey, if I can know how to clap hands, I can have a team. I want to be sinking in everything. So that's one thing. But also the other downside is then to live there was super hard, right? Because then the 15,000 people, not like that number attract me. It's more about at that time I did have to consider maybe just stay doing that because not many people make it there. And not many, I would just say it in this podcast, not many women make it there. Not many minority people make it there. I am this at that time, and many different kind of community was placing me as the first one or the biggest one of this and of that, and this. So I know I'll be inspirational to people, at least for younger generation, feel like that they don't think that is not the option. And I'm sadly to say, even today, a lot of people thinking about the option is to create my own company because no, I'm not going to be able to make it to the big pharma. So certain community now, I'm engaged about trying to help people understand this is not like impossible. So that itself is missionary. And second thing is, I went through quite a bit of turmoil on this whole biotech organization building. It ended up with 3,000 people with very painful reorg. So 500 people lay off from Berkeley campus, 500 people lay off in Germany, and reorg getting another 1,000 people. Bayer have them report to me. it was tough. There's a lot of, I think now you say you grew up in Berkeley, I'll say that a little bit more. My heart is there thinking about the people work on that campus before Bayer even is Bayer in that campus. This is 3 generations. This is not a job. It is life. Have them have to leave that life and rebuild a new life to tell their grandpa, grandma about I no longer work there is tough. So why am I sharing this? Because I feel if I'm going to do it, the 15,000 people, I am going to do it till I die. I'm not going to just do it as
for a quick,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So this is probably come to oddly, right? Because that's why I share about my nice CEO still today trying to recruit me back. And then he's like, he know that's who I am and what I'm doing. And yet I feel like, Judy, if you were hard, still go by this. Okay, let's just say years ago, Judy, because we talked through this. How are you going to go back to say, hey, I move on, I become a pharma executive and I'm taking care of those employees instead of creating this new drug? Am I done? By then, I do have a lot of things under my belt to say I can brag about those products. I don't think so. So I think it's a go against myself versus something I know is meaningful. So this is probably good or bad. So at the end, it was a very open dialogue with Stefan and many other leaders. I say, I got to move on. I got to kind of like going back to my past. And I would say in a hindsight, some people ask me if Bayer didn't promote you so fast, right? Maybe you will stay longer. I think that's true. But I think if you put me on such a spot, I feel like I need to do something differently. I don't want to be ingenuine about, I know people following me, I know people believe in me, and I earn that trust, right? But I don't want to fake that about my heart is somewhere else. So this is a good or bad, so I have to go. So basically, frankly speaking, I did not even have an ultra bio thing in my heart. I gave my resignation because I know the organization need time to find leaders. And so it was a very open dialogue with Stefan about, and he's like, where are you going? I said, I don't know where I'm going, but I feel this is not right. This is not right. I take on this organization. I'm going to work till I die. But I don't think if my heart is still feel that day I die, I think there's something I haven't get done when I start this whole journey, when I give up to being an engineer, when I give up to not doing other crazy art and musician thing. It's for this, just because people give you this recognition, you say, oh, that's really good. Let's just move on, whatever. I don't think that's right. So then he's like, well, okay, I respect that. And then, but I'm very firm about this. That's why I took quite a while to transition and also finish all those capital budget and project to build this whole vision for Bayer. Then I feel the next thing for Bayer is really execution. I'm very confident about this. A lot of people can do that. And I got to move on, do something, like you say, play to my strengths, right? So then create something, what I want to have new medicine for some question we still not address to treat patients.
Again, I commend you for doing that because I think it would be tempting to stick that's a big headline number and a lot of responsibility, and it's tempting to just want to put that resume pad.
Yeah.
But I appreciate you being honest with yourself and being like, if I'm going to do it, I actually have to want to do it forever.
Yes.
That's a big responsibility to these people, and I'm not going to fake it. So I appreciate that. And it must have been super hard.
That's all for this episode of the Biotech Startups podcast featuring Judy Chou. Join us next time for part 4, where Dr. Chou recounts resigning from Bayer despite leading a 15,000 person organization, how former Genentech executives approached her about a novel PSG1 mechanism, and how Altri Bio nearly declared bankruptcy within 4 months of founding. She'll also unpack breaking the ceiling for ulcerative colitis patients, building a translational research lab in Taiwan while keeping operations lean, and her unconventional answer to what advice she would give her 21-year-old self. If you enjoy the show, subscribe, leave a review, or share it with a friend. Thanks for listening, and see you next time. The Biotech Startups podcast is produced by Exceeder. Don't want to miss an episode? Search for the Biotech Startups podcast wherever you get your podcasts and click subscribe. Exceeder provides research labs with equipment leases on founder-friendly terms to support paths to exceptional outcomes. To learn more, visit our website www.exceedr.com. On behalf of the team here at Exceeder, thanks for listening. The Biotech Startups podcast provides general insights into the life science sector through the experiences of its guests. The use of information on this podcast or materials linked from the podcast is at the user's own risk. The views expressed by the participants are their own and are not the views of Exceeder or sponsors. No reference to any product, service, or company in the podcast is an endorsement by Exceeder or its guests.